this is what it was like. I did a few things. I took the back off, and I took the rubber plate off, and the Jimi Hendrix logo, all that off there. But this is essentially how it was when I bought the Buddha Wah pedal and quit using this for gigs. It's decent. It's not the, it's not the best wah in the world. It's not the worst. It gets the job done. But I absolutely prefer that Buddha Wah. But yeah, so I took the rubber piece off. It's got adhesive to the back, same as the Jimi Hendrix thing, so I put them kind of together. I started loosening this up, and that's all I've done off camera. So now what we're gonna do, I gotta disassemble this whole thing because I'm gonna repaint it and I'm gonna convert it into a volume pedal. So I took that off. You just unscrew that there. There's like a, usually a washer and a nut that go on the, there they are. On the top part that you unscrew, and similarly, same thing here. You take off those input jacks, then you unscrew that screw I just showed you on the board there, and it's pretty much ready to come out, except for the potentiometer is still hooked up to it, so we're going to unscrew the same exact kind of size nut there. And also we need to take off this little plastic retainer here. Actually, these two go to the metal bar that's on the, they coincide with a metal bar basically that holds, it looks like a leaf spring on a vehicle. It's like a little metal bar that holds another metal post that holds the top part of the pedal down. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. I evidently forgot and left a 9-volt battery in here over, I don't know, probably at least a decade, and it's kind of messed up that padding there, so I was just showing that. So these are 1/4 inches what I'm showing you here. You can just use, that for that part there. And then unscrew that piece, that's important. Again, keep all your pieces organized and together. I typically get like a Ziploc baggie and put them all together. Or like in this case here, I put that screw back in the hole it belongs in. So here I am trying to figure out how to get this thing out. And I correctly assumed you just got to use a punch and, push it through there. I use some WD-40 or this blaster is what I actually use. This stuff works so much better for seized bolts or anything like that. So I just shot some of that in there, and you're gonna want to like clean it up and everything. But what I wound up doing with this, because I was having a hard time, the punch was too thick. I didn't have one small enough to go all the way through there. So once it widened up, I just used this. I clamped on a vice grip and then just used some other pliers to tap it down out of there. And that actually worked, if I remember right. This video has actually been quite some time in the making, so. But yeah, so that's it. And then that comes out. If I wasn't gonna be painting this pedal, if I just wanted to take the top off for whatever reason, I would not have unbolted the piece with that metal bar on there, that 1/4 inch piece I was just talking about. You don't need to really unbolt it all the way. I think that might make some problems for you, but I don't know. It did. I don't want to say that because I don't know. I've never done it that way before, and I did unbolt it. So, I mean, it is kind of a pain, that springs, that whole deal, because not so much taking it out or any of that, but when you go to put everything back on, it can be. So here I'm just showing that I'm going to be painting this whole area. So I just decided to tape it all up. I'm actually not painting under the side, but I still didn't want any paint getting on that piece there. So I just taped it all up really well just to make sure nothing can happen. I got to sand anytime you're doing any painting, sanding is really the most important part of it. Painting's quick and easy part. So I did a lot of cutting on this section in terms of like creating the video, but yeah, there was a long time sanding. Multiple grits, lots of different kinds, This first one, just to take all that's some tough paint. I don't know what they're using there, but that is some really tough paint. It's not like Rhino liner, but it's something along those lines, just white, not quite as strong. So here I'm showing I got the paint off, but you can't really tell in here, but it's extremely rough. It certainly does not look like chrome. It looks like brushed metal at best at this point. So I'm gonna have to, start now sanding, going down further and further and further and further in terms of the level of how coarse it is. So I get some more paint here, or more paint. I get some lesser grit, or it's a higher number, so 600 because it's not as coarse. And I just got us, in that spray bottle, I always keep soap and water. You just got to keep it wet, essentially. And then when you get enough buildup, which you'll be able to feel it, take it off there, because you're trying not to let deep scratches get in there. And I feel like sometimes that can carry gravel, especially if the sandpaper you're using isn't like the most expensive brand. So just whenever you get kind of a buildup, wipe it off. So here I'm showing it's a little bit better. It's still nowhere near what we're trying to. Also, you want to make sure where you're working doesn't have a lot of little pieces of grit or anything on it. So now we're going to use some steel wool after a ton of wet sanding. And like, again, it took a long time, That's showing the job steel wool did. So pretty good. I got it pretty much done. Make sure this is all wiped up and cleaned off, just, because we're going to paint it. So this is the main part I wanted to have really cleaned off. So I'm just wiping everything off there with the soap water and that kind of stuff. So I have some goof off here just to get the rest of the adhesive off the front part there where that Jimi Hendrix sticker was, or where it'll say Crybaby or whatever the pedal you're working on is. I wound up using some sandpaper. That stuff was pretty impressive, But so now I'm just I don't need to take all the paint off in this case. I just need it to be coarse enough to ensure that the paint will stick to it, so that the new paint will. So I'm just kind of scuffing it up with some, I don't even remember what grit level this sponge is, but I love those sponges. They're excellent for stuff like this with those rounded edges and all that. So there, you can tell, you can see it on here. It's a different color now. Now I'm just gonna go through, and on this first coat, you just want it to be kind of light like that. Like you can still see black under there. It's not, I always call it the sticky coat, because you're really just kind of putting down a first coat, and now I'm cutting to more coats. But I think I did, how many coats in total on this? Probably, I actually don't remember for sure, but I think I did about 4 coats. So while that's all drying, I want it to dry really well. I put this stuff on here. It's called Mother's Mag Polish, and mine's really old. I need to get some new. And then I used 2 different things to polish it. Here's a buffing wheel like you would use on a vehicle. So I'm using that, and then here in a while I use a angle grinder with a kind of a buffing wheel. Yeah, there it is. A buffing wheel I have attached to that, just because it's a little bit faster. The only thing, you just got to be careful not to burn the polish. If you're careful, you're all right with it. But anyway, all that to say, by the time that's all done, yeah, there, you can see it's moving on. But again, I did that multiple times. I don't know if you need to. I just feel like it does just a little bit better. So there you can see a side that's not been done with it. See how it's kind of rough or whatever. And then here's a side that has. It's a lot more like chrome. So anyway, go on and do the rest of all those. This is dry. The sun's going down, so I'm using a flashlight just to spray the clear coat now. I believe I got 1 or 2 coats on before I started because I was in a hurry because the sun went down. I was debating on whether or not to go with the rubber foot pad or what to do. I finally settled on, I think what I'm going to do is paint it like a vintage cream color. I think that'll look good with the chrome. I think it's going to look good like that. And then and maybe put like a vinyl decal on there, under the clear coat. I'm not sure if that's going to look good or not. So initially I wanted to have it polished enough to be like chrome, but to be honest, highly polished, although it's pretty good at not rusting. It's not completely rust resistant, so that's why I'm thinking it's not like chrome is, and chrome even eventually rusts. So put on a decal, and I think that's going to look pretty good, and then clear coat over that. Just in the section where that foot pad goes, I think I'm going to paint that the cream color and then put like a decal on that, and I think it's going to look pretty good. Time will tell. That's pretty sick. I guess I did the same thing. Oh well, whatever. Look at that. You don't see that every day. So I was just thinking about, I'm gonna need a couple input jacks, I think, I'll need 2. And I guess I could maybe solder them, take them off the board, but I didn't want to. I wanted to leave the wah board the same, so if I want to turn it back into a wah, all I gotta do is, plug it back in, basically solder a couple wires. But anyway, stop, Charlie. Anyway, I was thinking I'll just take them off. I was gonna sell this tube amp thing that I have. I hardly ever use it, so I was like, I'll just sell it. But then I got to thinking, that's like, how much is it worth? Is this one? I thought it was pretty cheap. It's this, and it's got some scratches and stuff, so I haven't cleaned it or anything. Once I clean it, it would look a lot better, I'm sure. But anyway, so this, I was like, I'll just get rid of this. But I was looking on here, and new, they go for about 100. This one's going for $30 on eBay. So, and then over here's one for 60, I think. So yeah, but I got to thinking, even at 30, I was like, 30, that's not much. And then I'm like, what am I thinking? That's $30 I'm paying for 2 of these, and that is way expensive. So, and these are used at that. They're not even new. So I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll have to just be patient, and I could still get everything ready, and to where all I got to do is solder it up, plug those 2 in, and I'm good to go. So I could still do that while I'm waiting for them to come in the mail and paying a normal price for them. I don't even know. Let's look. So yeah, I just looked those up, and yeah, here for 2 of them it's $7, or you can go get 4 of them for $9. So I'm just gonna do that. Anyway. So yeah, now I gotta clean off that. I'm gonna use this paint right here, but to paint that interior part or whatever right there. So anyway, it's just showing alcohol. So I use some rubbing alcohol, make sure that's all cleaned off really well, and then a tack cloth to make sure there's no dust or hairs or anything like that in it. And then lay down your first sticky coat. This one I actually did quite a few coats. I wanted to build it up because there's a square piece in there that, if I should have sanded, but I didn't. So anyway, I did about 4 or 5 coats there. And then this is just showing, this is some stuff I use to make kind of a pearlescent look on when I'm painting things. I actually use it more for motorcycles, but yeah, so really cool. You just got to be very sparing with it. And mix it a ton. So anyway, I did a little bit of that. While that's drying, I figured I'd come in and get these electronics working. So I'm gonna remove the wiring. I wanted to do all of this where I could just kind of rehook it all back up if I wanted to go back to a wah pedal. So I marked that with the color that comes on the, that came stock on it. So those are the colors, and I'm just taking them off with a soldering gun. Okay, so these are some new jacks that came in the mail, just standard input jacks. I mean, they're really cheap. I'll put the link in the description. I think it came with 4. It was a 4-pack, yeah. They're just gonna put those in and, put the nut on them just like everything's backwards. It shows loosening, but it's just because of the camera being flipped. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, so once those are in, you're gonna need a wire to go across from here to here. That's gonna be the negatives, I believe. And then from there to the potentiometer, because we're making this passive. It's essentially the same as the volume knob on your guitar is what I'm going for with this one. Yeah, I had that set wrong, obviously, if you saw those chords come out. So I put a little crease in that cord. I found that these channel locks here made like the perfect little, obviously you don't want to damage any of that. So this is more or less just to hold the piece there, not to cinch down on it. So put a little bit there and then make sure it's a good solder. I went from negative to negative on the jacks, and then I ran that. Oh, I'm about to solder that piece there. So you want the same negative to go to the negative on the pot as well. Now, I thought it cleaned up a lot nicer if I ran it underneath there, so that's what I did there. I don't remember if I kept it there in the end or not, but now I decided to make blue the positive wire on the, now it's gonna be hard to know because the input jack is I'm not sure if that's the input. I believe it is. I think I did input first. So anyway, I'm putting that there. Same thing, the positive on the output goes to the other side, the other jack or whatever. I made a mistake and did not, even though I marked the thing, I guess I could look at a picture on my phone. That might be what I'll do. Because whatever the input was went to the blue, if I remember right. I could be wrong. I'll put it in the comments, whatever that's called, the description on which wire, the positive from the input, which post on that potentiometer, that one will need to go to. So make sure and check that before you start soldering this. Okay, so that's gonna be in there. You tighten that down, make sure it's good. That's all good. You don't want that moving at all, that potentiometer. I got this vinyl sticker. I've got a pair of them. One's an angel, one's a devil. I just thought it would look cool, and I think what I'm gonna do is take the top part off my Buddha wah pedal and make that the devil one. But so there'll be volume and wah. I don't know which is which by that. And also the base color is purple on the Buddha wah, and this one's gonna be that vintage looking blue. Again, I'm just wiping it down. being really careful not to get any alcohol in that paint that I just did. I just don't think it, I mean, I let it dry for like a day before I did this, but literally at least 24 hours. So now I'm just doing clear coats, and I'll be honest, on this, I just decided I was going to go crazy with the clear coat because, again, I'm trying to kind of compensate for that square piece or square indentation, I guess it would be, on the top of that pedal there. You can see it when the light hits it correctly. So I was hoping that enough of this would kind of level that out. But anyway, I must have done about 7 or 8 coats of clear coat there. So here I'm just showing my volume is up. I'm on the neck pickup. It's plugged into there, plugged into there. The output's there, going into the interface into FL Studio. Just showing basically that when I raise the volume on that, when I turn that potentiometer, the volume goes up, there's no hum, everything's good. So now that everything's been painted, we can remove the tape off this piece here. So I'm putting the metal piece back on. I wound up having to hold the nut with a pair of pliers back there and then tighten it with the screwdriver from the top. But until you get that post through, you know, I wouldn't go crazy tightening or anything. Okay, I'm gonna reapply some of this stuff just because I feel like it's a little bit more high end than, you know, WD-40. But if that's all you got, WD-40 will work, to be honest, just fine. So, and here I can't remember which side it goes in, you know, which side, and I wanted it to be the same. So I took a look at the boudoir and figured out which side. And then I used a brass hammer because I didn't want to damage the piece or like mushroom it out at all or anything like that, to do the majority of this. And even with that being said, I'm very lightly tapping on when you're putting this through. You don't want to be like rearing back and going for it. You know, I mean, you really don't want to break those posts if you don't have that lined up correctly and you break that post. So right here, just real quick, I'm showing you that I'm using the grip of a plier to kind of pry that bar up just to make sure I'm not hitting that either. And I had to get this bar underneath it, you know. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, if you aren't lined up correctly and you put too much pressure on that post, you could crack that. I believe these, you know, that would not be good. So anyway, just don't let that happen. Here I'm showing, I was going to use this and I was like, oh wait, no. And it dawned on me, I do not want that head of the bolt stuck on there if that goes down into the little, you know, channel for what the Allen key would fit into. So essentially fusing the two pieces together. So I wound up, instead of doing that, just using a punch for the rest of the way just to make sure. And it came out really good. Now that's good, but here I made a colossal mistake. What's wrong with this picture? I just got too excited, thought I was done. Yeah, so, yep, that's a problem. Now I can't get that piece in there. So you'll see it is a real big pain in the back to get that main bar from the back that we just put back in. So instead I'm gonna do this little one right here. I decided. So I just got some pliers and pulled it. I put some of that stuff in there, the, you know, or WD-40, whatever you got, and they kept sliding off and all. It was a bummer, you know, but I earned that mistake myself. So anyway, I got it out, put the plastic piece back in, and that was me using a punch to push it back in. So once you have that done, assuming you didn't make a ridiculous mistake like that, you want to make sure it's all the way turned up. You know, there we go. And then apply the post there to that gear, because when you don't want to have a loss in volume while you're playing. So you just reapply so you're going to put that plastic piece in that you saw and then put the feet back on, and that's it. You're done. I mean, it's good to go. I hope this was helpful, and please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you guys try this and how it works for you. All right, have a good one.